which at a high level is, let's say I'm interacting with a client for the first time. I'm taking down a lot of their basic information that I know is going to go into the next document I generate for them. Instead of having to go in there and do that low value work of typing in their name, their address, you can actually save that information and automatically apply it to the next document. So I'll show you guys how that works, but wanted to set the table a little bit there. So this is the entire repository of templates. When it comes to really making this real life, at the end of the day, you guys might be working with the same type of documents day in and day out. What you can do instead is actually utilize favorites. So I can drop down. This is what I generate most often. This is what I need quick access to. It could be a variety of different documents here. So I have a letter, engagement letter. This is just, what do you work with most often? What do you want quick access to? And then a couple of quick macros here as you're working through your documents. But let's say I want to start working on a document. So I'll start off with something simple, such as a letter. I open up my letter, and what I'm going to have is the template on the right side. And if you guys are used to MacPack, it's that dialog box. This is where it's going to be a different experience for you. And what I like to say is it's going to give you the ability to manipulate these documents on the fly. So over here on the right, I have the information that I need to add. So delivery phrase. I can come in here and I can drop down from a menu if this is something where at the end of the day, it's going to be the same type of language. I don't want to have to type it out. I can just choose what's appropriate. And then tab, what we're going to see is actually populates in real time. So you get that comfort knowing the information I'm adding is already going to be immediately presented to me. If you decide, you know what, that doesn't look quite right, let me delete this. You can delete it within the document itself. And that will give you the ability to come back in here and just say, okay, what do I need to do next? Here, recipients. This is another area where you might be used to it. Just if you have your Outlook, your Active Directory here, you can just pull names in. In this case, I want to send this off to a couple of my colleagues here. I can hit insert, and then I can just keep on moving down the line. So right now I'm starting off with 2 people. Let's say that instead of 2 though, this is going after 20 people. Probably don't want 20 names stacked on top of each other. I can quickly change the formatting right within the task pane. It's again, taking away that low value, having to wrestle with Microsoft Word, giving you guys the ability to quickly move through these documents. And then it really does come down to adding in the information as need be. Now, let's say that this is a client that these are 2 clients that I'm going to be working with in the future. What I can do now is save data. And this is where it's all about what's going to resonate with you. So I know that this is going to be now next time, anything involving client matter, the recipients, anything like this, I don't have to put it into the next document. I just put it into my folders and hit OK. Now, I know that one of the things you guys wanted to also take a look at is going from a letter to a memo, something in that regard. So instead of me having to go start all over again, what I can do now, and this is something that you guys might be used to with MacPack actually, is simply hit transform. And I will say, yes, I want to replace the content here. Now I can choose, what do I want to turn this document into? And I know that this is going to be a memo. So I can choose my memo here. And then this will actually take this letter and any information that I have in here and turn it into a memo for me. So I don't have to go through the process of doing it manually. Instead, all this information that carried over is going to be here for me. And then anything that's missing, I can repopulate it and go from there. So we want to take a break there. Any questions on that? Kind of how does that compare to the workflow that you guys are using today when it comes to MacPack for these type of documents?
I have a question on the template. How easy or complicated is it going to be to just take our existing templates and convert them from format to Forte format?
So Cinda is Cinda's team is the team that really works on making those conversions. So that might be a better question for Cinda to answer there, since he does have a good amount of experience with it.
Yeah, I think I heard the question. I think you were asking how much work is involved in taking your current MacPack templates and turning them into Forte ones?
Correct, yes.
So do you mean from an end user perspective or an administrative perspective? Meaning you have an existing document that was done in MacPack that you want to open up and you want to use it in Forte? Is that the question, or is it the actual base content?
So that is the question for the end user.
Okay.
But because honestly, I'm not concerned about the admin side because that's part of the whole moving from one platform to another.
Right, okay. So from the end user perspective, you have a couple different options when you're talking about opening an existing MacPack document. And one is to be able to use the transform feature that Victor just showed you, but it's not where you're transforming a document from a letter to a memo, but you're essentially taking an existing MacPack document where you can select the body of the document, and then you can transform it, say, from a MacPack letter to a Forte letter. It would preserve the body of the document. It would keep the body in the same file, so it would have the same doc ID, same file number, but you would need to then populate the information in the task pane if you had not done information for that client previously where you already had saved data in Forte for it. So that's one option you have. The other is we do have a legacy documents recreate feature that has a certain amount of, for our core templates, you could use the recreate feature, which is similar to reuse in MacPack, but where you would open an old document, you would do legacy recreate, and we actually mine the variables from those documents and use as many as we can in a Forte document. Now, those are great for documents that are were kind of standard in MacPack. For a lot of, if you have a lot of custom documents, those, we wouldn't have the mappings for those. So those you would need to use transform for, but for kind of the standard letter, memo, fax, certain pleading types, there's built-in functionality that would mine those document variables and bring them forward into Forte data.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can actually show you what Cinda was speaking to there, where if you have just a body of text here, and if I just have this random language, maybe it's something where a lawyer sent it over to me and they want me to turn it into a letter. This is where I can actually take this and just say transform. Again, walk through the process of replacing this, come into my correspondence. In this case, I want a letter, and it's going to take, so it's going to ask me if I want to apply any saved data, which at this point I'm going to say no to. But once I agree to this, what I'll actually get is the letter, and it's going to be in the template form where I have the task pane on the right, and I have this right here that I can work from. I believe this is one of the things that you also wanted to see, Huda, just taking plain text and applying a template to it, correct?
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. And then to show you guys just how easy it is to actually bring in that saved data. So let's say I got this text and someone wants me to turn it into a letter. I've actually worked with the client that this is going out to before. So what I can do is come to apply data, and then I can choose based off who is this actually for. This is a client that I've worked with in the past. I can bring in the appropriate language, and just like that, I've got my recipients in place. We're going past the process of me having to open a template, add in that body text, go get the recipients. Instead, I'm taking text that I already had, turning it into a template. You know what? I've worked with these people before. Why am I going to go in there, pre-populate information that I've already gathered? Instead, using Forte, I can apply saved data. So this is something that's new from MacPack and really designed to make it, if you're working with the same client for a series of documents, saving you time at the end of the day. And then when it comes to something like labels, again, we want to make this very intuitive for you. So because I'm working with a letter, Forte actually recognized and provided for me a ribbon within Microsoft Word. specifically for my labels. So I have the ability to create my labels, envelopes, whatever I need, but depending on the document that I'm working on, Forte is going to recognize, you know what, based on this document, there might be a specific workflow that you need to follow. Let me put the necessary tools in front of the user for them to be able to accomplish that successfully. So if I just finish up with this letter here, choose what I need to add in, which would be a delivery phrase at this point, and then I'm just hit finish. If you're done with the template and you just want to see the document, we can actually hit finish here. I can come create my labels. So this is going to, I can choose my label from here. And now I can actually, on the right, see that I have my recipients. So I know this is going to Matthew James and Michael Rymek. My delivery phrase, I hit attorney-client privilege, and then I hit complete. So just like that, I've worked through the process of creating that letter. I haven't had to switch to a different application, go open up a brand new document. Instead, I'm really following this workflow that Forte is presenting for me, and I've got my labels ready to go. So any questions on any of that, you know, kind of general thoughts at this point as well?
Just a quick question, clarification. We can, or rather you can, customize this for our particular style and size of labels.
Yep, so that's something where you guys would work with our solutions engineering team. You would make sure that anything that was specific to the firm, you guys actually get to discuss that, just so that everyone's on the same page, but that is something that would be handled between you guys, the admins, whoever is making those decisions for the firm, and then our solutions engineering team would work with you guys there as well.
Mm-hmm. So it's it's customizable here for what you're looking for. Victor, can you highlight, for their testing the next 2 weeks, they're not going to be able to have access to exactly what they want, correct?
What you can do, however, is in author preferences, if there's a specific way that you like a specific type of document, you can come into your author preferences and you can really get granular with it. So let's say you like your letters a certain type of font. You can click on this and you can change any type of information. So font type, font size. So this is where, let's say that you know, everyone has their own preferences. You like to do things a little bit differently. You can actually come in here and change that dependent on the type of template that you're working with. But as a whole, that is something that your firm would work with us to make sure that we're delivering the specifications that you guys are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question there?
Yes, that's on the administrative side. You guys would work with us in order to program that so that we will be able to do it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No problem. So any other questions there? If not, I have the business template and then the pleading template. I'm actually really excited to show you guys how you can go through that and really turn it into a really streamlined process instead of having to create documents one at a time. So any other questions? If not, we can move into that part.
Yeah, we can move.
Awesome, then. So I'll actually close this out. I don't want Microsoft Word getting mad at me for having too many documents open here. But what I can do is I'll just go into a blank Word document, and we'll start off with the business template. So if I wanted to go in here, I could just come into Forte, open up my task pane, and then depending on what I needed, I could start searching for it. So I know I want a purchase of business agreement. And by all means, I can open this up and I can start working on it. What I think would make your lives a lot easier and really help streamline this workflow is taking advantage of something that we call packets. And this is something that's new to Forte. What packets essentially are is the ability for you guys to tell Forte, hey, I want you to generate these 3 documents for me at once instead of having to do them one by one. So for your business for the example in the business template, I know you guys wanted to see an agreement, a title agreement, and then an exhibit. So we have the ability to come in here, choose my business agreement, come to inserts, choose my agreement title page, and then if I decide, you know what, I also want to include a agreement exhibit, we can do that and we can go one by one. or we can actually come into my folders, and this again is all about you. It's your workflow. Excuse me there. It's what you want to do. So I know corporate, that's more or less the area that I want to work on right now. I can right click, go to create new, and choose segment packet. So what I can do now is instead of having to generate those documents individually, I can go into what I need, and I can just say, in this case, I know I want a purchase of business agreement, and then we can also search. So agreement title page and an agreement exhibit. We can decide where we want these documents to go. So it can be either the start of document, end of document, and then anything else that we want to do that's unique to this packet. And then we can just create it. So I'm right now creating this packet of documents to where every time I go to access this, I'm going to get my 3 documents together. And I can hit save and then give it a name that, again, is easy for me. This is going to be in my folders. So it's designed to be something where you're comfortable with it. You know exactly what everything is. So what I have is, I actually have one right here already ready to go. So once I click on this, right over here, we're actually going to see all 3 of our documents being generated for us at once. And they're going to be generated in the order that we want them to be. So I'm going to have my agreement title page, my actual purchase of business agreement, and then the agreement exhibit at the end. So we have everything right here. We can see that I actually have the exhibit, I have the business agreement, and the title page. So we've created all 3, we've generated all 3 templates at once. Now, coming back to save data and to giving you guys some time back in your day and helping you get through these documents a little bit more quickly is I just choose today's date. And then I just, again, probably not my first interaction with this client if I'm creating a business agreement for them. So what I can do is apply data, and then it's going to ask me, what document do you want to apply this data to? The business agreement, and then just like this, I have the language that I know goes in accordance with this client and this document, and I hit OK. And just like that, I populated this information. If there's something here that I'm not happy with, though, I can still make changes. So it's not something to where once you go through the process, you're stuck with what you get. You have that ability to manipulate the information. But as you can see, there are a couple of ways for you to really be able to streamline it and say to Forte, you know what, this is the workflow that I need. And what I always tell people is Forte is designed to be malleable to whatever workflow you have. So I created a packet with those 3 documents. What you guys are going to see next is with the pleading documents, completely different documents, but we can still follow that same workflow. So any other questions on that, kind of thoughts, you know, how could you guys see that maybe helping increase some of the efficiency behind the workflow you guys have today?
I don't know. I mean, I can't answer that question.
What was your question?
Kind of the ability to generate those 3 documents at once. Could you see that maybe helping streamline the workflow a little bit that you guys have today?
I could see it. I'm not sure how secretaries work, if they would actually put it into practice. But I can see the advantage of that, especially with the 3 that you pulled together, the title page, the agreement, and then at the end you have an exhibit. That's very typical of a transactional document.
Yep, and kind of that's what we want to do is, you know, while you could go in there and generate one at a time, you're still going to have to make sure that you're generating them in the correct order. So the advantage of the package is this is what I want, and then instead of having to recreate it each time, I can actually have them saved within my folders, and I can quickly access them. So it's not me creating it each time. Instead, within my folders, I already have this corporate packet ready to go. What is nice is that this help text right here, before you have to commit to anything, I can click on it and I can see exactly what templates are included. So it's a good way to make sure, hey, is this what I want? It is. Let me move forward with it.
And one thing to keep in mind is that as an administrator, whoever is the administrator of your content, you have the ability to create packets if you know that there are going to be some that would be used by a large group of people, but then individuals can create their own segment packets as well.
So do you provide like training specific to the administrators?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Yep, so we do train the trainer. That's where you guys get to work. Whoever it is going to be that's maintaining the admin side of the house, we make sure that you guys are comfortable with it, make sure that you're comfortable with changing, creating any type of templates. That's all something where that's included as part of the implementation. We make sure that you guys are empowered to be able to really take this on yourselves. And, we want to make sure if you ever have a question, you have the ability to go in there, make a change, answer the question, and not, have to reach out. Well, we're always here. If you do want to reach out, we want to make sure that you guys are empowered in that regard as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. So the pleading workflow is another one that I wanted to show you guys here today. And again, I already have a packet here, and I can actually come in here and make sure that it's what I want. So it's the pleading from California, my notary, and my proof of service. And again, I click on it, and I'm going to get all three documents at once. And if this is a client where I've worked with them in the past, and you know what, I have this information in hand already, that's where we can, again, utilize that saved data to make sure that as we're working through this, we're doing this quickly, efficiently. So and I know one of the things you wanted to see was actually us adding a footer and then adding some language, some lines of text in there. So that's definitely something I can touch on for you as well. And this is actually going to lead me to one of the points where when it comes to favorites, it's not limited to just templates. So let's say that I know that specific complaint text, it's utilized time in and time out, and I want quick access to it. I can drop down in my favorites, choose this complaint text that I have saved. I know that it's something I use often, so I want quick access to it. I'm not searching for it. Instead, I'm utilizing my favorites. Just like that, I've got this text ready to go. And then my footer text, what do I need to add here? So this can be anything that I want to add here. And we can go back up to the first page and then just finish up this document as we need to. Oh, well, would help if I put it in the right area. My apologies there. So footer text. And we've got it right here. Any other information that we need to add beyond that, we can definitely go one by one. So this is just California in general. I can actually drop down by jurisdiction, choose whatever is appropriate here, and go that way. Or if I've worked with this person before, I can just come to apply data, choose what document I want to apply it to, and then just add it in depending on what's appropriate here. But again, this is giving you guys the ability to quickly access what you need. These are all, you can have packets in your favorites as well, to where, I'm really generating this bundle of documents all the time. Instead of having to go through the entire repository, you can have quick access to them right here. But any other questions in terms of the pleadings? Again, I can minimize these, and we can see that we have all three documents right here, our notary, our pleading, and our proof of service generated for us. As I want to work on each individual one, I can just come in here and choose what I need to include and add. But, just kind of wanted to really touch home on how much we can help streamline your workflow. Any questions on this? Anything that you guys were hoping to see that we haven't touched on yet?
Unfortunately, our pleading guru is out of the office. So unless Eva, do you have any questions with the pleading? The rest of us can't use it.
Yeah, you're in litigation, right?
Yeah, but my attorneys, they do their legal systems, they do the document, and I know they would love it.
California.
Yeah.
We can move on, Victor.
Awesome.
I did want to take one quick pulse check. I know that we're going through some very structured workflows here, but one of our goals for this call is to make sure that you guys feel comfortable doing some of this on your own. How are you guys seeing that connection there? Do you guys feel comfortable with some of the things that we've shown so far and maybe your ability to recreate some of them?
Absolutely, yes. It's really easy to use. The user interface is very easy on the eyes, and you look at the screen and you know where you need to go to get what you want.
Good. Excellent.
Awesome. So what I wanted to jump into next, I want to make sure that I'm not speaking to something that you guys are already familiar with, which would be numbering. So is that something that when it comes to MacPack, are you all comfortable with MacPack numbering, or is there anyone in the group that's new to it?
I think most of us in here I'm definitely comfortable with it.
So I do have a nice surprise, and this is actually when it comes to MacPack to Forte conversations, this is always one of my favorite things because numbering hasn't changed much. So is there anything here within numbering that isn't familiar to you guys? Schemes, I can open them up. It'll actually tell me what document schemes I'm already using. Public schemes, private favorite, but is anything here new to you guys? I want to make sure if this is something that you guys already do on the day-to-day, that we're not covering it just for the sake of hearing my voice.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm hearing MacPack come up a number of times. Is this the replacement for MacPack, or are you the same company as MacPack? I'm trying to understand the relationship.
So since Cinda does have the most experience, I can definitely let her speak to that. And she really is part of the reason that Forte is what it is today. So I'll definitely let Cinda take that one.
Yeah.
So, as you know, MacPack was created by the Sackett Group, and Forte was originally created by the Sackett Group as well. In terms of, is it a replacement product? Yeah, I mean, well, we're still supporting MacPack. I mean, the new technology is Forte. So it has a purpose of, it replaces MacPack in the sense that it does allow you to create documents based on underlying what historically would have been called templates, and utilizes macro functionality. But it goes way beyond that in terms of its ability to help you manage your content and all of the document assembly features that are offered within the Forte product.
Oh, okay, I'm not sure I understood all of that. So if I could ask a couple of more questions. If we have a document that's been created in MacPack, been formatted in MacPack, is this going to interface with that? Or does that document have to be stripped and then reformatted in Forte?
Yeah, it has to be redone in Forte because they are two completely different products. They're built on completely different architecture. MacPack used the whole templates and boilerplate, as the building blocks. And in Forte, we don't use templates. We use essentially what we call segments, but they're XML strings that are stored in an underlying database. So all the documents are constructed completely differently, and what gives us flexibility to do things like document assembly and to offer you these automation tools in terms of like save data and the recreate.
Okay. And now the gentleman Victor who was doing the demonstration, asked if we were familiar with MacPack and if he needed to go through that. So can I assume, or can you open up the next window here? I mean, does this operate the same way MacPack did, or does?
In terms of numbering, so when it comes to me just coming in here and let's just create a string of text. And then what I can do is come into my numbering, favorites, so article scheme I use often. When it comes to actually applying it, it's as simple as me going in here,
Would
choosing
you
my
mind
level.
turning on show hide, please?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
And then, yeah, just, you know, going through here, adding in what I need to. And then right here, we can just, you know, if I want to, I'll move this up, move it down. If I want to get rid of it, make it continuation, number it. It's the same, really. Anything here that's new to you, or is this kind of the workflow and the process that you're using?
So this looks like the same MacPack's ribbon.
So numbering is the same. So MacPack numbering became Litera numbering. The differences would be dependent on what version of MacPack numbering you're using. Right?
Okay.
There were some enhancements that were added, like the active scheme drop-down right above the 1, 2, 3 numbers. Did your version, do you know, have this where we had use favorite scheme and this whole active scheme drop-down? That was one of the newer changes that we made. Moving edit schemes to the front. But the underlying functionality is going to work the same.
I think that is precisely what we have, almost. Load default scheme is the only difference. I'm actually looking at MacPack on another screen. Can you do me a favor and edit this scheme, please?
So I can actually come into a
scheme document under document schemes. No, I was asking you to edit the existing scheme.
Oh. So I can
So
actually.
Victor, if you just click on edit scheme on the numbering ribbon.
Right. Okay, that's substantially different. But no, it's not.
Well,
it's fairly good.
Yeah, the interface might look a little different, right? Because it's going down the left as opposed to across the top.
But it's the same principle. Could you click on paragraph?
Sure.
And continuation. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else, or good to cancel out of this one?
Yeah, that's all the question I had on that in terms of the interface of how we would set it up and edit it. I have another set of questions. Can I ask them now, or should I wait?
Sure. Yeah. So, feel free. We still have plenty of time here. So, any questions you have?
Okay. For cleaning up documents, does this interface with DocX tools?
So you can use them in combination. That is something we have a lot of clients who use DocX tools to maybe bring in a new style. So that is something where you can use them right hand in hand, just depending on what you want to use DocX tools for, but that shouldn't be a problem in terms of being able to interface with them together.
For automatically applying styles to a document that's been stripped and cleaned up. That's my concern.
Yep. You would still be able to use DocX tools, and definitely something that a lot of our clients utilize there.
So it is integrated. DocX tools integrates with numbering the same way it does with MacPack, correct?
So I wouldn't say integrates, but you can use them in tandem. So they are two separate solutions, but you can use them alongside each other.
Right.
Okay.
But they work together, right?
Yep, our entire suite works together, yep.
Right, the same way they do in MacPack currently.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I'm assuming that right now in DocX tools, you guys have the ability to choose the MacPack levels. Is that correct?
Yes, we would go and apply each level of numbering one at a time, but it would be all occurrences of a particular structure or format.
Yes.
Like anything that's a period tab would get whatever we tell it, if that's what we select to do it.
Yeah, so then you could say, okay, apply a MacPack numbering level 2 to that.
Right, to anything that fits that format, yes.
Yep.
I mean, if you had DocX tools up there, we could run through it, but you don't have DocX tools there.
Right. If you want a a more detailed walkthrough of that, we can certainly provide it on maybe a side call.
Yes,
with you one-on-one. But
one of the big things is the next 2 weeks, we're definitely available. If you're working through this, something comes up and you have a question, feel free to reach out to us. If you want to do a quick 15, 20-minute one-on-one session, always happy to help out. I want to make sure that as you're working through this, if you have any questions, you feel comfortable reaching out. So if that is something where you want to spend some time and work through that, feel free to reach out. Happy to put something on our calendars in that regard.
Okay.
I have a question. I was wondering about the numbering when you use a transform. So if you had a MacPack document that had all the numbering in it like this, and you wanted to transform it to a Forte document, what would you do about the numbering? Would you clean it all up and reinsert it, or what would you do there?
Your numbering is going to come over. So if you end up going with a Forte solution, numbering is included in that. We are going to take your MacPack numbering files and we will essentially bring them forward into Litera numbering. They have to be, the file formats have to change. There has to be certain tweaks that need to be done to them, but your numbering, that will come forward. You'll have all the same schemes available to you. So when you open that document in Forte, well, you might have to do a transform or legacy recreate. Your numbering will work just like it did previously. It will still be attached to those underlying list templates.
Okay.
If I understand you correctly, let me just, I got to wrap my head around that. Let me walk through that. So if I have a document that's been formatted in MacPack, I can open it up in Forte and then click on transform, and it's going to automatically apply the Forte style to replace the MacPack schemes.
No. So if you open up a MacPack document in Forte, your numbering, Litera numbering, is going to recognize that MacPack numbering scheme. And you're going to be able to, without doing anything in it, you could manipulate the numbering with this numbering ribbon that Victor's showing you right here. Because it's recognizing that it's going to recognize what the scheme is, whether it was an article scheme or if you had any custom schemes. Our numbering utility is going to pick up that, oh, we recognize this. This was created using a numbering utility that we're familiar with, and you'll be able to use the buttons just like you did in MacPack without doing anything to the document.
So we don't have to reformat our documents.
You don't have to reformat numbering in the document.
Right.
Right. So if it's an agreement, you could use that agreement. If you wanted to access Forte functionality, right? So you open an agreement, it's going to be just fine in terms of the layout and the styles and the numbering. But let's say you wanted to add a business signature, right? Just like you can with MacPack. Well, that business signature macro that existed in MacPack doesn't exist in Forte. You would need to use the Forte functionality. If you want that to be available to you via the ribbon, you would need to transform that agreement. So it essentially kind of it gives you access to all the macros that are available to a Forte agreement. Alternatively, you can drag and drop a signature from Forte into it, because Forte is very, there's lots of pieces and parts that you can add to assemble a document.
You feel like you have a good grasp on that? Achille?
I'm sorry. It's hard for me to hear the voices, and there some of them are muffled when they speak. Did you ask me a question?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make sure that we were grasping that and that we were answering your question fully.
Yeah, I'm grasping it, but it seems to be the opposite of what was said before. Maybe I just didn't understand what was said before with the first set of questions that I asked. So
let's put it this way, Achille. if you open a letter that was done in MacPack, the letterhead is going to be the old MacPack letterhead. So if you wanted to go in and change the office, Forte isn't going to recognize that. Okay? So
Right. I get that. Yes.
okay.
So,
but whereas an agreement, the body of the agreement is not something that's Forte pays much attention to. It pays attention to things like the signatures or a title page or other pieces and parts you can add to an agreement, but the body of an agreement, where all the numbering takes place, that's really, controlled by numbering. It's not by Forte. If that helps clarify.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. I hope that cleared things up.
And usually what
Yeah,
I see happen a lot is as you start using this, you kind of get a better understanding of it, but by all means, if you start using it, questions come up, feel free to shoot me a message. Part of the job is always having an eye on the phone, so always happy to help you out as need be.
Yeah.
Well,
and I always
can tell
find
you
that getting your hands on it. Sorry, go ahead, Italy.
No, I was just to reiterate, if we could actually see how DocX tools interface with Forte, that would be tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we would need to see, because that's a large part, at least for the resource centers, as a large part of what we do.
Absolutely, that makes sense. We might not have time to do that today. I'm conscious of our time. However, we can absolutely set up a separate session to talk about that if you'd like to have more of a visual. And if you guys have DocX tools installed on your machines, right, you can also play around with it over the next 2 weeks too. Both are good options, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to remove MacPack for the testers, but I think I'm going to leave it now. So I just don't want them to confuse Forte with MacPack because they do look very similar. But I think I'm going to leave it on the New York machine for you, Akili, if that's what you guys want. You want that too? Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to leave it this DocX tools and they can play with it. But we will revisit in about a week as questions come, and I will reach out to everybody to see if they have feedback. And we can, if the need for extra demonstration or questions that we need your attention for, I will let you guys know.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And if at all possible, what would be really helpful is kind of having a better understanding of how you guys do utilize the two of them together, so that, when we do have that demonstration, we can really speak to your workflows. So if that is another demonstration that we need, that's something to where, as long as we have a little bit of background as to what that workflow looks like, we can make sure to replicate that as best as we can with Forte. But definitely, if that's something we need, we'd be happy to set that up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We only have 9 minutes. We have a hard stop at 4 o'clock. So if you guys, you have anything else to show us, please do.
That was the list that we had. Is there anything that you wanted to see that we haven't gone over, though?
I'm just curious. I mean, DocX tools aside, do you have anything that's any cleaning tool that's like easy to use and quick for within Forte itself?
Within Forte itself, so not within Forte itself, what we do have is, are you guys familiar with DocX Tools Companion? What I like to call more, yep, so that's something you can use that right in tandem with Forte as well.
Yeah, currently not all our users have it, but we're planning to deploy it to everybody, but that's gonna be a few months down the road. I was just wondering if Forte.
So the big thing is whatever you guys are used to doing with our suite of tools today, that's something where Forte is going to fit in with that. I can actually show you the Litera desktop here. It's all of our tools together, and it's designed to give you that one seamless workflow.
Uh-oh. I don't know what that was.
I think we have a little bit of background noise.
That I was touching on there. This is, kind of the Litera desktop. Over here is Forte. We like to, call it create. The same workflow that you guys saw, where if I want to go access a template, I can do that. Over here is DocX Tools Companion. And then safe reuse, making sure that, let's say you get a document in from outside the firm and you want to make sure that it's safe to work with, you can quickly rebuild that, remove any artifacts, anything that could be problematic. But, if you guys are used to DocX Tools, you can use that in tandem. And then DocX Tools Companion is always there for you as well. And, anyone that might not be familiar with it, we got a couple of quick cleanup functions, quotations, curly to straight, straight to curly, making spacing consistent, conforming font type and font size, as well as the ability to create a quick table of contents, cross references. And if you have any numbering that might not be automated, maybe there was some numbering that was done manually, a quick numbers button. But definitely, but the workflows that you guys are used to today when it comes to DocX Tools, you guys should be able to continue that as well. If there are any questions as to how to best accomplish that, we can always get on another phone call as well.
Sounds good.
Can I ask 2 quick questions?
Sure.
You have the table of contents on this tab. There was a table of contents on the Forte tab?
Yep, right over
was
here.
There? Okay, and it functions. Can we just click on that real quick, the menu? And then, okay, and this is how you create. Okay, terrific, thank you. Okay, and then the second question, going back to the ribbon that you were on before the cleanup.
Yep, Litera, I can actually go to that right now.
I don't see you anymore. I think we just got kicked off.
Let me open that up. So I think that might...
Wait, when you said cleanup, did you mean the DocX Tools Companion Suite?
Yeah, where you did the cleanup, and is that going to do the same level of cleanup that DocX Tools does?
So it's going to do a slimmed down version of cleanup. So the cleanup drop down will give you some very particular actions, right? So you can see them listed there. Things around font, things around spacing and quotations, right? It's not going to do everything.
What about the conversion cleanup next to that?
So if you're converting it from a PDF, it's just going to remove those artifacts, scan documents, just clean up in terms of converting it from a PDF or a scanned document into a Word.
Mm-hmm. In the design of the companion portion of DocX Tools, we had created a set of very common routines from the core DocX Tools, right? So this allows somebody that maybe doesn't understand Word as well and maybe isn't a Word expert can still accomplish some of the end goals without needing to have the full DocX Tools option menu, right, on the tab there.
Sounds good.
We actually created this as more of an attorney companion. The things that you see with the name companion have been designed as, working alongside the attorney, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone like you, Achille, I'm sure you're probably more of a DocX Tools expert, getting more in the nitty gritty. Okay. So we're getting close to the end of our time. Any other questions before we break?
Just a quick one here. You do work with the Best Authority, right?
Oh, good question.
Best Authority is not our solution. We don't own that one. We don't interfere if you're using Best Authority today. Is that what the question was?
But we
yeah.
know that Best Authority is different products.
Right.
Unlike Workshare, which I just learned you guys merged with today.
Exciting news.
That is shocking, but anyway, not really shocking. But so within a Forte formatted document with numbering and everything else you guys do, if we go ahead and run a TOA from Best Authority, there shouldn't be an issue. That's really my question.
You're doing everything within Word. We're not bringing anything proprietary to the table there. So you can interact with it as a normal Word document.
Mm-hmm.
You have table of authorities on this tab here too.
We sure do, Achille. Good eye. We do offer a table of authorities functionality as part of our proofreading and review technology. But our solutions are all agnostic if you have other solutions currently.
Right.
So if you were looking, if you weren't happy with best authority, for example, and you were looking for other table of authorities, we would be able to provide that for you as part of our other solution sets.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thank you guys for taking
Excellent.
the time to join today.
Yeah, Huda, let us know if you have any questions, if anything comes up. We're so excited for the next 2 weeks.
Sounds good. We are too. Thank you so much for your time.
Good.
Thank
Okay.
you. Have a great day, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.